42 of 2019 was The Psychology Book. In one of my other reviews a while ago, I reviewed the philosophy book and absolutely loved it. This one, not so good, but I think that that's because it's my subject. I teach this subject. I've been learning about this subject for years, and I think for me it was a bit too simple. It's really, really good if you know nothing about psychology, I think, because what it does is it kind of introduces you to where psychology's come from. So a lot of the kind of like philosophy background, and also kind of like the early psychologists. It goes through behaviourism, cognitive psychology, what else is there? Psychotherapy, developmental, social, and individual differences. Developmental, did I say that already? I think I did, didn't I? So all the kind of main areas, and it goes through all the key psychologists of the time in those areas, because really those areas, they go across time, like based on what was happening in society. So for example, behaviourism came first, and then it was kind of more cognitive with the introduction of computers and stuff. So it kind of is chronological, but it's not, because a lot of the areas do overlap as well. So that was kind of a bit irritating for me, because I would have liked it in order of time, but I understand why they did it, because if you're not familiar with the different areas of psychology, it makes sense to put them together. But I would have preferred it knowing them, to just have them, because for example in the philosophy one it's in order, but the different types of philosophy sectors are kind of just listed on it rather than it being in those sections. So for example, like postmodernism or feminism or whatever, they weren't in sections, they would just put what type of philosophy they were, which I think would have been better. But it's really good because it's got like pictures of them, and it's got like, it's all colourful, it's got quotes and things, and like where the psychologists has come from and stuff. And it's got kind of like the main ones, like you know, like Milgram and Harlow and Loftus and Palmer, mainly Loftus in it, Skinner, you know, all the kind of main ones are in there. And it was really interesting because there's a few in there that I didn't know of and I found really, really interesting. But the only problem is the Skinner bit about what was it about negative reinforcement. It was wrong. The stuff in there was wrong, and I understand why it's wrong, because a lot of people who teach it and who study it get it wrong. But it's not difficult. Like, negative reinforcement is the removal of something unpleasant. Like, it's not that difficult. Like, I don't understand how they've got that wrong, particularly when they're writing a psychology book. Like, I think that's absolutely disgusting that they've got that wrong, which made me worried that the stuff in there that I don't know about, is that even right, like what they've written? Because if they get something so obvious as Skinner wrong, who's a very influential psychologist, who's very famous, like if you can get something like operant conditioning wrong, like, and I know it's difficult, but if you're a psychologist it's not difficult, what else in there is wrong? So it just kind of made me feel a little bit uncomfortable that, but then maybe that's the same as a philosopher, but I don't know, because I'm not a philosopher. That's weird, isn't it? A psychologist, philosopher, but they're not a philosopher. Anyway, I studied philosophy, but anyway. So yeah, that just put me off a little bit. But I think if you know nothing about psychology, it's really good, because it does mention most of the psychologists that you would come across in a psychology degree, and it does kind of talk about what they did and what the contribution was and stuff like that. So it is really good. I think the only iffy thing about it is, what people don't realise is that each one of these entries is based on a journal, a scientific journal, like a piece of research that's been done, that's been published in a, you know, a journal, like, I don't know, cognitive psychology or whatever, that it's come from there. Because when I'm teaching students and they've shown me this book, I'm like, yeah, this is great as an introduction to find the research, like, you know, it's psychologist, but we're not interested in that, we're interested in the actual piece of research that's been done. So I think this is a little bit, if you are a psychology student, this is a little bit misleading in how we actually find out information in psychology. We use journal articles, we don't use books like these. So that's the only kind of thing, but if you do it for fun, then this book's probably a good insight into psychology.